Let's be honest. There's a reason some men haunt a woman's mind long after he's gone. She might move on, post the smiling photos, even convince herself she's over him, but deep down she remembers. Not every man earns that place in her memory, though. Only a few do. And it's not about looks, money, or even words. It's about something far more subtle, something psychological, the kind of impact that touches her in ways she can't quite explain, even to herself. Most men try too hard. They think being unforgettable means being impressive. But women don't remember the man who tried to be perfect. They remember the man who made them feel something real. The man who showed emotional power without needing to dominate. The one who stayed calm when she tested him. The one who saw through her armor, not to control her, but to understand her. That kind of man leaves an imprint on a woman's nervous system, and once that happens, she doesn't forget. You see, attraction fades, excitement fades, but psychological resonance, that's what lingers. It's when you become associated with emotions she can't replicate elsewhere. Every time she hears a certain song, smells a familiar scent, or passes a place you once stood together, her mind replays fragments of who you were, not because she wants to, but because her brain wired you into the pattern of her emotional memory. And the truth is, she didn't fall for what you showed her. She fell for what she felt around you. That's why men who perform or overgive often vanish from her memory as soon as they leave. But the man who carries quiet strength, emotional depth, and masculine calm, he stays. She might resent him, fight the memory of him, but she won't erase it. There are 5 things these men do differently, 5 instincts that turn them from ordinary to unforgettable. And if you understand them, you'll never have to chase validation again. Because once you embody these traits, women remember you without effort. Not because you manipulated her, but because you triggered something real within her, something primal, emotional, and timeless. The first thing? He listens, but not like most men. He listens without trying to fix her. He doesn't interrupt her emotions. He holds space for them. When she speaks, he doesn't make her feel like a problem to solve. He makes her feel seen. And do you know how rare that is today? Women are surrounded by men who talk, men who want to prove, explain, or impress. But the man who simply hears her becomes different. His presence calms her nervous system, even when she doesn't understand why. The second, he's unpredictable, not in a childish or chaotic way, but in a way that keeps her mind curious. He's stable in energy, but not routine in behavior. He brings mystery without manipulation. He doesn't tell her every thought, every plan, every feeling. That creates psychological space, space that breeds fascination. Women can't forget what they can't fully define. And as you'll see, these patterns aren't tricks, they're truths. They're the emotional architecture behind how women attach, desire, and remember. The kind of truths most men never hear because they're too busy trying to be liked instead of being felt. So if you've ever wondered why she still remembers one man she no longer even speaks to, stay with me. Because once you understand what makes a woman never forget, you'll never look at attraction the same again. Women don't remember the man who was always available. They remember the man who made her feel his absence. That's the third thing unforgettable men do. They understand the art of emotional distance, not ghosting, not playing games, but allowing space to breathe. You see, modern men often think presence equals value. They chase, text, call, over-communicate, thinking that more access equals deeper connection. But the truth is, human emotion doesn't work that way. Desire grows in absence, not saturation. When you're always there, you become expected, not cherished. A woman's emotions rise in waves. She needs space to feel you, miss you, and imagine you. That's where memory is born. When a man knows when to step back, not out of fear, but confidence, it hits her psychology differently. He's signaling strength, not indifference. She senses that he's complete with or without her, and that awakens something primal in her: respect. That's the emotion that anchors attraction and makes it linger. You want to know the truth? Respect makes a woman fall deeper than compliments ever could. And here's the secret. Women don't consciously crave dominance. They crave direction. They remember the man who made her feel safe in his silence, who didn't need to explain himself every second, because his actions spoke louder than words ever could. His boundaries became his voice. The fourth thing unforgettable men do is they live with purpose. This isn't some motivational cliché, it's biological. A man on a mission emits a different energy. His focus, his direction, his goals create emotional gravity. Women feel it. They sense when a man's identity doesn't revolve around them. And ironically, that's what draws them closer, because women don't want to complete a man. They want to join a man who's already complete. When a man's life has meaning beyond her, she doesn't feel ignored, she feels inspired. His presence becomes more than romantic, it becomes magnetic. She starts associating his energy with ambition, growth, forward motion. That's how memory cements itself. Even years later, when she meets other men, something inside her still compares them to the man who had direction, the man who moved through the world with quiet certainty. Now here's the part no one tells you. Emotional impact doesn't come from drama. It comes from consistency under pressure. When she tested you, when she threw emotional chaos your way, when she wanted to see if you'd break and you didn't, that's when she started remembering you differently. She might have argued, screamed, or even walked away, but deep down, her subconscious marked you as the man who didn't fold. And every woman remembers that man, because in a world where men bend to gain approval, a man who holds his ground stands out like fire in the cold. His calm is rare, his steadiness addictive. Women might not even understand why they can't forget him, but their emotions do. His energy lingers in silence, in the unspoken, in the way she measures every new man against his composure. That's the invisible power of masculine restraint. And finally, there's something even deeper. The fifth thing unforgettable men do. They awaken emotion without fear of losing control. They flirt without attachment, connect without neediness, and love without losing identity. He doesn't suppress his feelings, but he doesn't drown in them either. He lets her feel his desire, his attention, his warmth, but it's always grounded in self-respect. That balance is what drives women crazy long after he's gone, because he didn't just make her feel wanted. He made her feel safe in that wanting. He didn't just touch her body, he touched her sense of worth. And a woman never forgets the man who made her feel both desired and respected in the same breath. So remember this, being unforgettable isn't about control. It's about composure. When your presence brings peace instead of pressure, you don't have to chase memory, you become it. Every man wants to be remembered by the woman who once had his heart, but most men go about it the wrong way. They try to impress, to prove, to force their worth into her memory. But memory doesn't work through logic. It's not stored in the part of her brain that analyzes your achievements or recalls what you said. It's stored in emotion, the limbic system, where feelings become fingerprints. And if you don't understand how emotion anchors memory, you'll keep wondering why she forgot you even though you gave her everything. The truth is, women never forget how you made them feel about themselves. Not about you, about themselves when they were with you. Did you make her feel adored or anxious? Did you make her feel safe or small? Did she feel more like herself or like she had to perform? Because that's what her memory replays. She might forget your face, your scent, your messages, but she will never forget how you made her feel inside her own skin. That's why some men become ghosts she can't shake, while others vanish without a trace. You want to become unforgettable? Stop focusing on control. Focus on connection. Stop chasing validation. Radiate self-respect. Because a woman's emotional radar is sharper than most men realize. She can sense the difference between a man who needs her to validate his worth and a man who chooses her because he's already whole. And once she experiences the energy of wholeness, Every man after you who acts needy will feel dull, predictable, unexciting. But here's where it gets powerful. The men women never forget are those who understood polarity. Masculine energy isn't about dominance, it's about direction. Feminine energy isn't about submission, it's about flow. When a woman feels a man's steady direction, her emotions relax into trust. And that trust becomes the deepest form of attraction, not to his body, but to his energy. She remembers that energy because it brought her peace. Most men think excitement is what makes them memorable. It's not. Safety is. But not the kind of safety that feels boring, the kind that feels grounded, the kind where she knows she can be emotional without being judged, where she can express her chaos and he won't flinch. That's emotional leadership. And it's rare. That's why when she meets it once, she doesn't forget it, because deep down, she knows that kind of energy doesn't come around twice. You see, you can fake confidence, you can fake wealth, even charm, but you can't fake grounded presence. It's either in your energy or it's not. And the man who has it doesn't chase, he attracts through his stillness. That's what drives women insane in silence. Because even when he's gone, she feels his emotional imprint like an echo. That's how you become unforgettable. Not through performance, but through alignment. And alignment means you live by your own standards, not hers. You respect your time, your energy, your emotional space. You don't let her chaos dictate your calm. When you live like that, she feels your energy long after you've walked away. Because that kind of presence, controlled, powerful, deeply masculine, burns into her nervous system. You know what's ironic? The less you try to be remembered, the more unforgettable you become. Because women don't remember what you wanted from them. They remember how rare your energy was. They remember how your silence spoke louder than other men's words. They remember how your calm made their emotions feel safe enough to rise. And when you're that man, even if she moves on, even if she dates others, even if she never says your name again, she still feels you. In her quiet moments, in the nights when she can't sleep, in the random memories that hit without warning. She'll wonder what you're doing, who you've become, and why every man after you somehow feels a little less real. That's the power of becoming a man she can't forget. Most men never realize when a woman starts remembering them. It doesn't happen when you're at your best, dressed sharp, saying all the right things. It happens in the quiet moments, when you walk away instead of argue, when you choose peace over ego, when you say no and mean it. That's when a woman's subconscious starts to take notes, because that's when she realizes she's dealing with a man who's not desperate for validation. And in her world, that's rare. You see, women are surrounded by men who fold at the first sign of emotional resistance. They say they're strong but crumble when she pulls away. They say they're confident but panic when she goes silent. The man who stands firm, not with arrogance but quiet composure, becomes unforgettable because he's teaching her something she didn't expect, that her approval doesn't define his worth, that he can care deeply and still walk away with his dignity intact. That's the fourth truth about unforgettable men. They never beg to be seen. They allow themselves to be felt. When he says less, it makes her think more. When he disappears, she doesn't move on, she wonders. Because his absence feels different. It's not cold, it's controlled. It's not indifference, it's intention. And women feel the difference. They can sense when a man's silence comes from hurt versus when it comes from strength. But here's something deeper. Women never forget the man who gave them emotional contrast, the man who showed tenderness without losing his edge, the one who could be gentle without being weak, strong without being cruel. That contrast burns into memory because it's rare. It's the emotional equivalent of a thunderstorm, calm and powerful at once. When a man has that duality, he doesn't just attract her, he imprints on her. And that imprint isn't just romantic, it's psychological. Because whether she admits it or not, she measures every man after him against that memory. She asks herself silently, does he make me feel that alive, that safe, that seen? And most of the time, the answer is no. That's when she starts replaying moments, his tone, his calm, the way he handled conflict. It's not nostalgia, it's neurological. Her brain literally rewires around those emotions. Men underestimate how powerfully women remember through emotion. She won't recall the exact words you said, but she'll remember the energy behind them. She won't remember every detail of what you did, but she'll never forget how it felt when you looked at her with quiet certainty. Because confidence isn't spoken, it's sensed, and that sense lingers. Here's what makes a man unforgettable beyond attraction. He doesn't compete with her emotions. He leads them. He doesn't react. He responds. He doesn't rush. He observes. That level of emotional control creates safety, and safety is the doorway to lasting memory. Because a woman's emotions crave containment, not control, but direction. And when she meets a man who provides that without ego, she feels something that burns into her subconscious: trust. Once that happens, you could be gone for months, years even. She could meet new faces, fall into new routines, but somewhere in her quiet, you exist, a reference point for how real once felt. That's why she can't fully detach. Because you didn't just touch her life, you touched her equilibrium. You showed her what balanced masculinity feels like. And here's the most powerful part. When you become that man, you don't chase her memory. Her memory chases you, because women never forget the man who made them feel both free and grounded. The man whose energy wasn't needy, but nurturing. The man whose silence spoke volumes. So stop trying to be everything to her. Be something real instead. Because real doesn't fade, it echoes. Every woman carries a silent list in her mind. The list of men she's known, men she's forgotten, and the one man she still feels. And if you ever become that man, it's not because you were the most charming or the most handsome. It's because you were the most awake. Awake to who you were, awake to your boundaries, awake to your energy. Because women never forget the man who was fully present. Presence is power. It's not about what you say, it's about how deeply you're there when you say it. Most men are half present, distracted by their own thoughts, scrolling their phones, looking past her instead of into her. But a man who can hold her gaze without flinching, who listens with stillness, who makes her feel like time slowed down, that man rewires her. His attention becomes intoxicating because it's pure, it's undivided, it's something she doesn't get anywhere else. You see, a woman's nervous system recognizes presence as safety. Her guard drops, her emotions open, and once she's emotionally open in your presence, her mind ties safety to you. That's how memory attaches. It's not logic, it's biology. Every time she feels that same calm again, even years later, her body remembers you, not her mind, her body. And that's a kind of memory no breakup can erase. But here's where most men fail. They think being unforgettable means being the hero of her story. They think they have to save her, fix her, or prove their loyalty until she's convinced. But the man who becomes unforgettable doesn't rescue her. He respects her journey. He doesn't take over her story. He strengthens it. He doesn't offer validation. He offers mirror clarity. He reflects her emotions back to her without judgment, and that's something she rarely experiences. Most people listen to reply. He listens to understand, and when he does, she feels something deep. Not infatuation, not obsession, but peace. That's the feeling she never forgets. Because peace in the presence of a man is rarer than attraction. Now, understand this. Being unforgettable doesn't mean being perfect. In fact, the opposite. Women remember the man who had flaws but never hid them, the one who admitted his fears but faced them anyway. Vulnerability in a man is not weakness, it's depth, and women crave depth like oxygen. They remember the man who could say, "I don't have all the answers," without losing his sense of direction, because that's real, that's human, and that's rare. You want her to remember you? Show her what authenticity looks like. When you stand firm in your truth, even when it costs you something, she feels that integrity. It's magnetic. It leaves an emotional imprint that outlasts attraction. Because a man who's real in a world full of pretenders becomes impossible to forget. Here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to make her remember you is the moment she starts to. Because your detachment isn't coldness, it's confidence. You're not begging for a place in her mind. You're living in alignment with your standards, your focus, your mission. And women are drawn to that energy like fire to oxygen. That's why, even when she tries to move on, she'll find herself comparing every man to you. Not consciously, emotionally. Because you weren't performing, you were being. You weren't chasing her energy, you were guiding your own. And she'll remember that feeling. The calm in your voice, the control in your silence, the grounded warmth of your presence. You see, unforgettable men aren't born. They're built through awareness, discipline, and self-respect. They don't just love women better. They live better. They move through life with a rhythm that says, I know who I am. And that sentence, unspoken but deeply felt, becomes your signature in her memory. So if you've ever wondered why she still thinks about that one man who's long gone, now you know. He didn't beg for memory, he became it. The man a woman never forgets is not a fantasy. He's a mirror. A mirror that showed her who she was when she felt safe enough to be real. Every woman carries two versions of herself, the one she shows the world and the one she only reveals when she feels seen without judgment. If you were the man who made her feel that, even once, you live in her memory forever, because that version of herself only existed with you. It's not about what you said or what you did. It's about what your energy allowed. You gave her space to be emotional without shame, expressive without fear, vulnerable without guilt, and that's something most men shut down too quickly. But you stayed calm in her storm. You didn't fix her, you felt her. You didn't argue to win, you understood to connect. That's why she can't forget you, because you represented emotional leadership, the rare kind that makes a woman feel both protected and powerful at once. But here's the part most men don't realize. Being unforgettable isn't about staying in her life, it's about staying in her growth. You may no longer speak, but if she evolved because of what she learned from you, if she set new standards, if she healed, if she became wiser, you're woven into her story forever. That's impact. That's legacy. You see, every man leaves footprints, but only a few leave roots. The kind of roots that grow quietly inside her, shaping how she loves, how she trusts, and what she expects from the next man. And when you've touched her soul at that level, she doesn't just remember you, she becomes the woman you once saw in her. That's how deeply you exist in her subconscious. But never confuse being unforgettable with being irreplaceable. The truth is, no one is irreplaceable, yet emotional depth can't be replicated. You become the chapter she rereads, not because she's stuck, but because you reminded her of what real felt like. You were a standard, not a shadow, and that's the kind of memory that ages with grace instead of regret. So if you've ever wondered, does she still think of me? The answer is yes, but not always with sadness, sometimes with respect, sometimes with gratitude, sometimes with quiet nostalgia that smiles instead of aches. Because the man she never forgets isn't the one who gave her butterflies. It's the one who gave her balance, the one who helped her feel both feminine and free. And if you want to become that man, stop trying to be impressive, start becoming intentional, stop chasing validation, start embodying value. When you live with purpose, when you protect your peace, when you master your emotions without suppressing them, you naturally become unforgettable. Because you radiate something women rarely encounter, a man who needs nothing but gives everything from strength. That's why women remember the calm man in a chaotic world, the grounded man in a sea of insecurity, the man whose energy said, I choose you, but I don't need you. That balance between love and freedom is what burns you into her psyche forever. So ask yourself this tonight. When a woman remembers you, what does she feel? Chaos or calm? Fear or safety? Insecurity or peace? Your answer to that question defines whether you'll be a temporary chapter or the quiet echo she'll never forget. Now I want to ask you something personal. Have you ever been that man for someone, Or have you been the one forgotten? Let me know your answer in the comments below. And if this message hits something deep inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe, and share it with a man who needs to hear these words tonight. Because one truth remains: women never forget the man who helped them see what real felt like.